What's up, everybody? Dharius Daniels here. I got a question for you. What is the one thing you can't afford to get wrong if you want your relationship to be strong? Here's the answer: communication. What blood is to the body, communication is to a relationship. It carries everything to where it needs to be. If you want to fix the intimacy, you got to be able to communicate. If you got to fix the budget, you got to be able to communicate. Everything rises and falls on communication. And so what you're about to watch is part one of an e-course that my wife and I did to help couples in that area, or to help singles that are going to, watch this, that are going to be ready so that who are going to get ready so that they will be ready when God sends that right person into their life. So my wife and I did a 4-part e-course. We wanted to put part one on YouTube for you, and you can get the rest of them for free. Just have to go to my website, DhariusDaniels.com, and you click on the Can We Talk e-course. We'll put a link here for you to go right there. And we've got them in a separate space and not on YouTube, because we've got discussion and reflection guides to go with every section. And we just want to send that right to your email. So 4 sessions, 4 discussion and reflection guides, absolutely free to you, because we want to help you take your relationship to the next level. Now enjoy this lesson right here. I believe it's going to bless you. Everybody, I'm Dharius Daniels. This is my wife Shameka, and we're excited about this communications class for couples.
Yes.
It's called Can We Talk?
Can We Talk?
We're 90s babies.
Yes.
So we grew up with R&B music. So Tevin Campbell, I knew she was gonna sing that. I knew it. Okay. All right. So anyway, that was one of your favorite artists.
Yes.
I like him. He's a guy, he's a great guy, great music, whatever. But anyway, man, we feel like getting the communication part. I don't feel like you can get the relationship right if you're getting communication wrong.
Correct.
And in this e-course, what we want to do is we want to provide what I believe to be 4 key and critical tools to helping improve this area.
Right.
And in this first session, we want to talk about something called Make It Clear.
Make it clear.
Because I believe that's the first step in improving communication within the context of a relationship. And I know you've experienced this. I mean, we've experienced it in our own marriage. So it was well over, we struggled with the communication well over a decade. Right. Well over 10 years.
Yes, that's right.
And we're going to get into some of that, because we don't believe you can properly fix what you improperly diagnose.
Right.
So sometimes we get the reason for the communication problem wrong, and we can't get it right.
Right.
But I know you've experienced it also just in the couples that we coached, which most couples ask for counseling, most need coaching.
Right.
Yeah, and there's a difference.
There's a difference,
But this is really a struggle for a lot of couples. For some couples, it's a struggle, and for others, it's not a struggle. But if they're going to take the relationship to the next level, they got to take it to the next level, right? That's been your experience?
It's been an experience every time. And communication, everything happens with communication.
Yeah.
You communicate how you feel, what you're thinking, what you want. It's all because of communication.
Yeah.
So this is one of the key pieces to a relationship.
Yeah. You can't, if you don't like the way somebody's communicating with you, you can't fix that if you can't communicate.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't like the way you talk to me, but I can't fix the way you talk to me if we don't talk.
You got to learn to communicate.
And so one of the things that I feel like we want to hash out in this first session called Make It Clear is this. We need to be clear on what communication is.
Yes.
Because we can't get it right if we're understanding it wrong.
Yes, correct.
So what is communication? So here's a working definition of it that I stumbled across years ago. And it is this. Communication is the transference of thoughts, ideas, feelings, and information from one mind to the next. It is the transference of thoughts,
Right.
feelings, ideas, and information
Right.
from one mind to the next.
Yes.
It means that it is possible then to talk and not communicate.
Correct.
Because if what I'm thinking, feeling, or ideas I'm trying to convey or information I'm trying to get across doesn't come from my mind
Right.
to your mind,
Right.
then we've talked,
Right.
but we haven't
You
communicated.
can't communicate it because the thing with communication is it takes two. One person can't just communicate. It takes two.
Yeah.
One person has to talk. One person has to listen.
For sure.
And so I think that's where the problem comes in.
Yeah.
People will say, "I told you, I communicated to you," but the other person wasn't on the receiving end.
Yeah.
They weren't clear, or
For sure.
a number of things would happen.
And this is why we call this make it clear, because the first thing we got to be clear on, like I said, is what communication is. Because
Correct.
very often couples talk, but they haven't communicated, meaning that the person isn't leaving, or both parties aren't leaving the conversation saying, you know what, your thoughts, your feelings, your ideas, your information, it was in your head.
Right.
Now it's in my head.
Right.
I get it. So the goal of communication isn't always agreement. We don't always agree.
No, you don't.
But it is understanding.
Right.
And frustration increases in a relationship
Right.
when people don't feel like
They're being understood.
they're being understood.
Yeah.
And,
Correct.
and sometimes you don't know you haven't been understood
Right.
until you leave the conversation and someone doesn't fix the thing
Right.
that you want to see fixed. Then you're like, I thought we talked about this. I don't understand
Right.
how this is happening. So sometimes you don't know that you haven't communicated
Correct.
until after you stop communicating.
Right. That's good.
It can be really frustrating for
It can
people,
be very
right?
frustrating. Yes.
Yeah.
But there's some keys. There's some things that we've learned to help you with this. Yeah.
And so, there's a story in the Bible about a group of people who were building this tower called the Tower of Babel. And the Bible says that God looks at them building this tower and says, these people are of one language, one mind. And God says, if I don't do something, nothing will be impossible for them.
Right.
So these are people that are building something without God's help, per se. But because they're of one mind and one language, and the communication is clear, God says, if I don't do something, they're going to build this, because they said, we want to build this tower that reaches the heavens. Right. God said, if I don't do something, they're actually going to accomplish it. Right. And you know the way he stops them from building? Is by confusing the languages. So this is the story of how, like, the world gets different languages, right? Where the people at one level are talking one language and the people on another level are talking another language. Right. Because nothing can be built. That's right. Without communication. Yeah. And I think sometimes that's the way it is in a marriage, right? Or in a dating relationship. It's like we're speaking, but we're talking two different languages.
Two different languages on two different levels.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think practically, and I've done a lot of reading on communication, and practically I think one of the things is you have to know what you want to communicate. So the person talking has to communicate their thoughts and their feelings. Yeah. That means you have to have clarity on what you're saying. Yeah. And then the person that is receiving it has to make sure they understand it. Yeah. So you can talk to me all day. For sure. But if I don't hear correctly what you're saying and understand it, then we're still going to have a problem. Yeah, without a doubt. Right. Without a doubt. So one part of making it clear is us parties being clear on what communication is and knowing the difference between talking and communication. The other part of making it clear is you being clear and finding the words. And sometimes it takes some time. Finding the words that accurately convey what you're feeling and what you need to that other person. Correct. Right? Because it's hard to communicate clearly if you aren't clear. Right. And that's okay. Sometimes it takes time internally to get clarity. I mean, we wrestled with that sometimes. Yes. There will be times where you would say, I need more affection or I need more whatever. And I'm like, sometimes we don't know how to put
I can
words.
pat you on the butt. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, so we just have to know how to put words with things.
Yeah.
I think that's what we both had to learn. For me, I'm a processor, so it takes me a minute to process. So even if there's something that we need to talk about that is important, then I take a minute, I'll journal, I'll get my thoughts together on what I want to say, have examples, because I know you have to have examples.
Yeah,
So
that helps me.
Right.
Yeah.
And so now that I'm more clear, when I come to you, I feel more prepared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's important, right? Because a lot of times, or it's possible with couples, that emotion and maybe anger or pain or some emotion drives communication, and a person hasn't had the time to think through, what do I really want to happen?
Exactly.
Like when I'm done talking, do I just want to feel heard?
Yeah.
Do I want my partner to have empathy for me? Do I want my partner to actually do something?
Right.
So based on you getting clarity in that area, that's going to help you clearly communicate
even what you need
to your partner.
Yes.
And and I feel like this is why this communication piece is so important. I feel like communication is like blood to a body. Like what blood is to the body, communication is to a relationship.
Right.
Like blood carries the things that your body needs to different organs in the body.
That's good.
And communication does the same thing. It's the delivery system. So like if a couple wants to improve sex, they gotta communicate. If it's money problems, they gotta communicate.
Exactly.
If they want a partner to be more responsible, they gotta communicate.
Right.
And communication is the blood that transports it there, but you've got to be clear, one, on what communication is.
Yeah.
Two, what is it that you're trying to say?
Right.
Three, what do you actually want to happen?
Exactly.
When this
What's your
conversation is over?
Exactly.
Like you got to be clear on what is the win.
Right.
I want to make sure they got all three of those.
Yes.
One, I got to be clear on what communication is, so that I know the difference between talking and communicating.
Right.
I got to be clear on what I'm actually trying to say.
Yes.
Right. And then three, I got to be clear on like, what is my desired outcome? What's the win? When this conversation is over, what do I want to happen?
Exactly.
And I know that there'll be times where you just be like, I don't want you to fix it.
No.
I just want it to be.
And because that's the natural part of life. We want to fix things, or we make adjustments immediately. And sometimes the person just wants to be heard. Sometimes they're presenting the problem, and you have to think through and figure out how we're going to fix the problem.
For sure.
So I think going into it, when you're communicating even that, hey, I have a problem, I don't know the solution.
Yeah.
Or I have some things on my heart I just want to share.
Yeah.
As long as you kind of know what you want to do, I think it helps the conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's key and critical. And I feel like that's the first step in next leveling. We made that word up. Your communication.
That's right.
Make it clear.
Make it clear.
Take care. We'll see you for session 2.